getting started. I do want to remind everybody before we do get started, we have 3 callers on the line, and when you're speaking, make sure you're identifying yourself when you start talking so that they can know who it is. With that, well, Dawn was going to call the roll. She's closing the door. So let her come back, and then she'll call the roll, and then after that, we can get underway. I don't have to click anything for record, do I?
No, I think it's recording already.
Okay.
Here.
Present.
Here.
This is Reagan. I can't hear anybody speaking.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So just to finish roll call, Hodges,
Here.
Johnson,
Here.
and then Patel.
Here.
And then excused, we have Kelly, Clausen, and Lord. And then we do believe Obleton will be joining us.
And we do have someone that has called in. The name is not identified. It says waiting for name. So could the person who's on the line identify themselves? Joe Winkler, can you hear me? You're muted.
There. Okay, yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So for everybody's benefit, just as a reminder, we have now 4 callers on the line, Reagan Johnson, Tushar Patel, Joseph Winkler, and Elizabeth Hodges. And we have 6 members attending here in person. And so on both sides, we'll just ask you to please remember to identify yourself when you start speaking so that everybody can know who it is that's talking. And with that, I will turn it over to the chair to call us to order.
Thank you. I'd like to call to order the November 2nd Citizen Advisory Committee meeting. First order of business is, are there any citizens with CAC business to present to the CAC? Seeing none, we'll move on to welcome a new CAC member. We have a Mr. Tushar Patel. Mr. Patel, would you like to introduce yourself, sir?
Yes, sorry about that. I was unmuted. So yeah, my name is Tushar Patel, and I work for the Great Western Supply Company here in Davenport, and I've been resident for Davenport for past 14 years. And just want to thank you to the city of Davenport to give me the opportunity to serve this chair.
Thank you for volunteering to be a part of this committee. Should we go around and give the names of all the CAC members? We can start with those who are in the city chambers. We can start with Mr. Obleton.
Okay, I got it. My name is Joseph Obleton. I've been with the CAC committee for a number of years now. So, welcome to the CAC committee.
I'm David Woods, kind of a newbie, so I'm learning.
Chad Kiefer, I've been with the CAC for 5 years now, I think.
Mark Holloway, I've been with the CAC for about 4 years now.
Dale Gilmore. Whoa, hot mic. I've been with the CAC 3 years, and welcome aboard. We'll be glad to see you in person.
Austin Bird, I've been with the CAC for almost exactly 1 year now, and just want to say welcome.
I'm Christy Miller. I have been with the CAC a little over a year, and I represent the 5th Ward.
Now we can have the members who are joining us via GoToMeeting can introduce themselves as well.
Hi, this is Reagan Johnson. I think I've been with the CAC for 3 years, approximately.
I'm Elizabeth Hodges. I've been on the committee for many years, and I represent the 4th Ward.
And my name is Tushar Patel.
And Joe Winkler, if you can still hear us, if you care to introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Joe Winkler, 3rd Ward, and this is my 3rd meeting. So I'm a newbie.
Well, thank you all, and Tashar, we look forward to working with you. Next order of business will be the review and approval of minutes of our October 5th meeting.
I'll second.
So we have a motion by Dale and a second by Chris to approve the minutes. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed? The minutes have been approved. Next is a review and acceptance of the financial report through July.
Make a motion to approve the financial report?
Okay, Chris had a comment, a question, and we'll hold that.
I had asked last meeting about the large amount uncommitted by CPED, and I believe you were going to ask them about how they plan on spending it down.
Yes, I did have a conversation with our director, Bruce Berger, about that. And with regards to the economic development, he did want me to point out that we had planned to launch what's called the Commercial Dream Program back in February for facade repairs. So that would be the second round of a program that had been launched 2 years ago. And in fact, they did kind of start to launch that program at the end of February, and then with COVID, they put that on hold. So they put the facade program on hold, and since then, staff has been focusing more on the CDBG-CV side, which is the COVID money for economic development that the city received from HUD to assist small businesses. But he did want me to let you know that they are planning to reactivate that program, the Commercial Dream Facade Program, that will be starting in the end of November, early December, with a hope that they will be able to get to contract and get to construction on those projects in the spring construction season. And then also our small business loan program was never really formally paused, but effectively it was, there wasn't any activity. There weren't getting a lot of inquiries regarding it. And as they have reached the end of the application period for the COVID small business money, they will be turning their attention back to the regular small business loan program to start to push that a little more, make it a little more visible.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Heather. Are there any other questions or for Heather or for Don?
Yes.
Yes, Joseph. Go ahead.
Please, I'm sorry, for the benefit of those on the phone, do make sure you identify yourself. Sorry,
Okay.
just a reminder.
Okay, this is Joseph Obleton. This is the money that they had already made the arrangements to give out from when they had the DREAM applications earlier at the end of last year, right?
So the money that the Economic Development Fund had was for a kind of commercial version of the DREAM program for facades. But yes, it was money they already had in their coffers, so to speak. It's not new money that came into them. The new money that came into them was COVID related that has come in over the summer.
Okay.
There is a motion by Chad to approve the financials. Are there any other questions?
Austin Bird, I second the motion.
Austin has seconded the motion. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? The financial report has been accepted through July. Next, we have fiscal year 47 application and evaluation criteria. Heather, did you want to give us some information about that? Thank you.
Yes, so this is Heather with the city again. And since we do have several members who are quite new, I would like to, if you don't mind, just give a really brief overview of kind of the application process and where we are in the application process and where we're going. Since we've had some new members join us at different times, I know for some of you this will be a little repetitive, but I do think it's valuable for everyone to kind of see where we are at the moment. So each year the city receives a grant from HUD, and so this is what's called entitlement money. So we don't have to apply for it per se, but we do have to submit plans and identify the projects that we're going to do throughout the year. And the grant is determined on a formula. So while we're sure that we will get money each year, as long as Congress appropriates money for it, we don't every year know exactly how much we're going to get. But the grant in the current year is about $1.5 million, which is a little lower than some of the years in the distant past, but it's certainly higher than some of our years in the recent past. And so we anticipate for the next program year, which begins July 1st, that we will have about the same amount of grant. We really won't know until Congress goes through the allocation cycle. And obviously, this being an election year, there are, there's going to be some delay in that. So typically we would find out our grant amount in June or July is how it's been the last few years. Now, even though we won't find out our grant amount until then, we have all of these deadlines from HUD that we still have to meet, even if we don't know the number. So as a result, we do our annual allocation based on an estimate. And that estimate for this upcoming year, we consider it to be flat. So we'll assume about 1.5 million for the upcoming year in the absence of any other information. So this money, for those of you who are new members, it comes to the city, and of course there's nothing free under the sun, so everything has strings. And the strings that come with this money are to do with who the money can assist. So the funds are to assist low and moderate income residents. So that's individuals and households who meet low and moderate income criteria, and low and moderate income areas. And that's defined by HUD and the census of what constitutes a low income area. And the money has to go to assist with things that are eligible for those two populations. And the kinds of things that are eligible tend to fall into a couple of categories. So housing, so affordable housing for low and moderate income people, area benefits. So these would be neighborhood improvements, things like street lighting and sewer improvements, sidewalk improvements that are over and above typical maintenance activities. So new projects that are going to make neighborhoods better. Economic development activities, so that would be helping low-income people start or sustain their businesses, or even people who are themselves not low-income, but who are hiring for jobs that low-income people without a lot of training might qualify for, so we can assist those kinds of things. And then this kind of catch-all category called public services, which is all the nonprofits that you think of who do good things in the community for those who have less means. So these would be youth programs, senior programs, transportation programs, mental health services, those kinds of things that help low-income people make their lives easier. So that is the public service category. So when we talk about our application cycle, what we're really talking about is all the steps we have to take to get to the point where we have enough information to send HUD a plan on what we're going to do with the money. And so that is a process we've been in already for several months. So over the summer, we did some public input. We did a survey. We had our very first virtual public input meeting, and thanks to COVID. And so we did input to gather information on what the community thinks our needs are. Because from HUD's standpoint, they don't want staff making these decisions. They want the community to inform the decisions. And that's where the CAC comes in. So the CAC is a body that provides recommendations to City Council on the use of the funds, recognizing that all of the use of the funds still have to meet HUD, guidelines. So as CAC members, you can recommend that we can go and build, a gold-plated boat dock, but probably that's not eligible for CDBG. So it has to be things that meet the criteria. And so we did some public input. We gathered information from various sources, public input, commission studies that HUD requires we have about housing and affordability. And last month in October, we brought you that information and asked you to look at our local objectives and say, are these local objectives valid from what we did before? Do we need to change them substantially? And though unfortunately I wasn't able to make that meeting, I understand you had a very spirited discussion and came to some wonderful conclusions regarding local objectives, which City Council will now approve. So then the next step is where we are today, which is reviewing the application. We sent this out to you last month, so you had time to look at it. We'll look at it again tonight. If anybody has any recommendations, we can discuss them. And then you'll have one additional week to forward any comments you might have. And then we will take that application and we'll use it in an application workshop. So that's for all the nonprofit agencies and government, agencies that would like to apply to use the money. And that's really the kickoff of our application cycle. So the first week in December, we will have our application workshop. So any eligible 501c3 or government agency can apply. Then in January, we will distribute to you all the applications that we receive. And then in January, we will have some application review sessions where we will come together as a group to review the applications, ask any questions you might have, and then we as staff will give those back to the agencies to answer. Then in February, traditionally, we would have in-person presentation meetings from the applicants. My assumption is this year, in-person meetings will not be likely to occur due to the number of people that would necessitate. And that isn't a decision we need to make today, but at the January meeting, we'll need to discuss if we're going to scrap the presentations altogether, have an alternative to it, have a virtual presentation. We have some options, but that discussion will be next time we meet. Then in February, that's when the presentations are, and that all brings us to March, which is the culmination of our CDBG year, which is our allocation meeting, where USCAC members, having reviewed the applications, having scored them, having seen the presentations, look at the applicants and kind of bless how much money each of them will get. And there's a formula involved in that. We'll talk more about that later. But that is the general process. So it kind of takes a year to get to the point where we can announce an allocation amount for the applicants. Then we take that information, we put it in our plan that we send to HUD. We send it off to HUD and HUD blesses the plan. And at that point, we can make awards. So it's a somewhat lengthy process and a little bit bureaucratic because that's the way HUD likes things. But all of you do play a pivotal role in it. And I just wanted to make sure that those of us who are very new know where we are in the process. So we're kind of like a little more than halfway, I would say, into the process, but really getting to the meat of it now. So with that, you should all have a copy of the application. This is the application that we've used for the last several years. Every year there's a little bit of tweaks, but the major format has stayed the same the last few years. I haven't received, I don't think, a lot of comments from any of you about changes that you want for this year, although the floor is certainly open to any changes now. Like I said, after tonight, if new and exciting thoughts come to you, you'll have until next Monday night to send me any final thoughts then. So with that, back to you, Mark.
Thank you, Heather. Are there any additional questions for Heather? Yes, Austin, please.
Austin Bird. If I could backtrack just for a second, how did the virtual input session go? And even after COVID, is that something that we might want to continue for people who might not necessarily be able to make an in-person meeting?
I would say it went smoothly. We did have several virtual attendees. However, none of them offered really comments. They just kind of listened to our presentation. But and same, so with that virtual meeting, recognizing people may not want to kind of draw the attention to themselves to make the comment. We did also provide at that virtual meeting an email address where if they wanted to make comments after, they could send them to us, but neither of the virtual participants elected to do that. So I would say the method of it went smoothly. The participation, there wasn't a lot of conversation, but there certainly were people listening to what we had to say.
Okay. Yeah, I was just kind of in the thought of, everything is going online.
Yeah,
and,
it truly is.
As we've done this, unfortunately, due to COVID, but, in the future, maybe that's something we continue even post-pandemic.
Yeah, I don't think, from a staff perspective, I don't think there's any reason I think we all hope we get back to some level of in-person interaction with people, but I certainly don't think there's any reason we would have to scrap this. It's not a lot of extra staff time from our perspective, and if it even gets the 2 additional people who wouldn't have come otherwise, it's worth it. So from our perspective, I think we can keep doing that indefinitely, as long as the city will keep paying for the subscription.
Right. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Does anyone join us via GoToMeeting have any questions? Reagan, Elizabeth, Joseph, or Tashar?
This is Elizabeth, and nope, Heather did an excellent job explaining it.
This is Reagan, and no questions either.
Yeah, this is too short as well, no questions.
This is Joe. I think there was a very clear and concise explanation.
Thank you all. So Heather, next is we will review this for next meeting and then the evaluation criteria.
Well, actually, we will need to finalize this application next week.
Okay.
So if anybody has comments they want to offer tonight, I'm happy to take them, and Dawn can help me take them down. Otherwise, you have my email and my phone. Feel free to call or email me any changes that you have or recommendations, and we'll incorporate them. And then next week is when we will start sending out the notices to everyone about the application workshop, which will be December 1st, the first day of December. It usually is either the last week in November or the first week in December, depending on when Thanksgiving falls. And this year, the way the dates fall, it'll be the first week in December.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, so just by next Monday, if you have any comments, send them to me, and otherwise, forever hold your peace, and we'll go with what we have.
Sounds great. Is there
Hey,
any?
Heather, this is Tushar.
Hi.
I'm looking at my email, and I can't open it. All it says is PDF on application, like in the blue line, but I can't click on it to open the file. Can you resend that file again?
Yes, I will definitely resend it. Thank you. Thanks for letting me know.
Hey, Heather, this is Reagan. I just have a question. It's in regards to the application. Are there any, over the years in your experience, are there any sections that the applicants tend to have issue with on a regular basis,
Whoops, I turned myself off rather than on. Sorry. I would say one thing that we've struggled with historically has been on page 3, where we talk about the schedule of the program. One of the things that's difficult with any application is that we fund so many different things that do so many different things at so many different times of day that I think they have struggled with. We as staff, and I think to some extent the CAC, I think every year up until maybe last year, we've made changes to that section because the CAC has kind of always wanted to know, like, is this a program that's only operating 3 months out of the year? Is it operating 6 months out of the year? Is it operating 5 days a week? Is it operating 2 afternoons a week? Because it's kind of hard to compare apples to apples when they do so many different things. So I do think the format we have it in now, I didn't hear a lot of complaints about this last year. So I think, Dawn, would you say it was pretty smooth? But I would say of the sections, that is probably the one we've heard the most about, because I think they kind of feel they don't want to be penalized for being a program that, I mean, if you're an after-school program, you can only meet after school. You can't increase your hours. It is what it is. So and we always try to reassure them. And then the other thing I do want to say, especially for newer members, is this application used to have a lot more pages in it, and we have streamlined over the years, including taking off several of the budget forms, because that was something that agencies struggled with, the fact that we have some agencies that are very small and maybe only have an annual budget of 100,000 or so, and we have some agencies that are very large and do dozens of different kinds of programs and maybe have $15 million budgets. And so for the small ones, it's easy to fill out many budget pages because their budget isn't that big. But for the large ones, filling out an entire agency budget for 25 different programs, they found a little arduous. So I think maybe 3 years ago, the CAC decided to drop that page just because it was problematic. And then the other thing I would say, and I don't mean to say that this is difficult for them, I would say I hear about it, but I think I hear about it because it's a good question, if that makes sense, is the one about collaboration. So there's a question in the application, which of course I'm not gonna be able to put my finger on right this moment, about how are you collaborating with other agencies, and then there's one about how is what you're doing different from other agencies. And I would say I hear about those from people because they don't know how to answer them. I don't think it's a question that is difficult that they shouldn't be able to answer. I think they struggle explaining themselves, like having to almost like justify themselves. So I would say I hear the most about those things, but that is not a question, in my opinion, we should drop, because I think it's a valuable question that makes them think in ways that are important.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Austin has another question.
If I could.
This is Austin Bird.
Austin Bird, sorry. Just since you mentioned it, and I don't know if this is a good idea or a bad idea, just a thought. What if, when we were talking about when does the program operate, what parts of the week? What if we replace that with maybe does your program operate year-round, yes or no? Check the box. What days of the week and what time do you operate? And then, are you closed on any holidays or something very similar? Just kind of
Okay.
like for the people who are for the organizations that do operate year-round, then they don't have to go through and mark yes, or it's just one box they can check. And then if it is something out of the normal, then they can explain.
Okay.
But how do others
Yeah,
feel
that's
about
a
that?
group
Yeah.
decision.
Austin, would you have that in addition to the questions
I
that
would
are
have that
there?
in place of the when does the program operate? That would
Summer,
be
fall.
instead of saying, does your program operate year round? Yes or no? And then what parts of the week? You could say what days of the week and what times.
So just make it more of open-ended questions,
Well,
a little bit.
Well, a little bit more closed-ended, I think.
Okay.
Just kind of yes or no answers to these, just so it's a little bit
Okay.
easier and understandable for people to fill out.
This is Elizabeth. Could you repeat what Austin said, because I could barely hear him?
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me, Elizabeth, now?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. I was on page 3. I was just looking because it got brought up. When does the program operate? Those boxes down at the bottom. Just replacing those as much as possible with kind of like a yes or no questions, like is this a year-round program? Yes or no. If no, explain when you're closed. What days of the week do you operate and what time? Just kind of a little bit simpler.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
If I could just make sure I'm understanding. So the part that you would get rid of is the 3 lines where it says, when does the program operate, what parts of the week, what times? But then the 2 boxes underneath would stay because those are kind of the questions that you are
Yeah.
asking.
Yep, and it
Okay,
really,
but
it would
add a
be-
question that says, we've got the year-round question, and you would just add the days of the week and the are you closed on holidays?
Right,
Those,
and because
okay.
I feel like the
Okay.
very last box there,
Mhm.
does this program operate year round? And then the 3 boxes above it, or the 3 lines above it says, when does this program operate? I feel
Mhm.
like that's kind of redundant.
Okay,
So-
that's fine. Mhm. I just wanted to make sure I understood.
Yep, no, absolutely.
Dale?
This is Dale. But it does, in the center section, it does say what parts of the week is this program available, and then holidays is listed. So I don't know that, I guess what I'm saying is that I'm pretty happy with the way it is. You know, it's not a perfect program, and it never will be. But I think that to make it fair for all the subrecipients, I think that this is a pretty good plan, because they do have 2 boxes below that they can describe any, you know, they can put in there pretty much anything they want as to why it doesn't go 7 days a week, or it does go 7 days a week, or it only goes 5 days and not holidays. And I don't know. I guess I'm just going to say that I'm pretty comfortable with the way it is right there. But, you know, it's up to the whole committee, so.
Anybody else have any thoughts on it? I am also comfortable with the way it is. Looking at Austin's suggestion, if I would even make it like an option where it'd be year-round, summer, fall, winter, spring. Like either you either operate year-round, or you operate in the spring and the fall, or in the summer. You know, just kind of maybe make that one question. So like an either or. So you either operate year-round, or you operate at these various times of the year.
Okay.
Does that? Yeah, definitely.
So that would be more of almost like, I think I know what you're going for. Got it.
Does anybody joining us via Go Meeting have any thoughts as well? Joseph?
No,
Go
No,
ahead.
Joseph Obelson, I'm sorry.
okay.
Okay. I'm not sure that whichever way we do it, it's gonna really make it much of a difference. We can make the changes. In the end, they're gonna be marking up almost as much as they are, whichever way we do it. It's not gonna change how many different places they have to mark, pretty much. It really isn't.
Thank you, Joseph Obelson. Anything else? So again, Heather's email is available. If you all have any further suggestions, please email Heather or Don, and they will get those changes made. Is there any other business? Dale?
Do we need a motion and to vote on that? Dawn's shaking her head no. Okay.
No, this is Heather. With the application, this is not an item that needs to be voted on, in part because there are things that staff typically has to add or take away as a result of HUD directives. So it's more consensus than anything. So I guess just let us know if you can, is the consensus we're keeping that section the same, or we're gonna change that section? That's the guidance that we need from you, that's all.
Thank you. Is there any other business for the CAC?
I have 2, maybe 3 items. One, I already mentioned, the application workshop will be coming up. That will be December 1st. We'll send you all email notification of that. The application workshop traditionally has been in person. Obviously, we will be doing it via Zoom, along with the rest of our lives done via Zoom now. And so we, invite you please to send out that information to nonprofits that you work with in your personal or professional capacities. As a reminder, if you sit on the board or work for those organizations, you would potentially have a conflict of interest, so you should talk to us about that before you do that. But we do rely on you to help us to advertise those things. So, and that is open to any 501c3 or government agency to apply for those things. So also the December meeting. So we require our subrecipients every year to turn in an audit, financial audit. That audit is due December 30th every year for the year that ended June 30th. And if they feel they cannot make that deadline, they are required to submit a request to the CAC to delay their audit or to get an extension. And those delay requests are due by November 1st, which was yesterday. And we did not receive any of those requests. So that means that if you as board decide that you would like to cancel the December meeting, you are welcome to do so. You would need to vote to do that. Recognizing, however, that if pressing business would arise, we may need to reschedule the meeting if something would come up. But at this moment, staff doesn't see any business that would need to be addressed at the December meeting.
Joseph Ogleton.
Yeah, this is Joseph Ogleton. Do we need to make a motion to do that, or we just assume that that's going to happen?
No,
Okay.
we would need a motion, yes.
I would like to make a motion that we do not have a December meeting unless issues arise which needs to be addressed at the December meeting.
I'll second that.
And who was that on the phone?
I'm sorry, this is Joe.
Joseph
The other
Winkler?
Joe.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Joe and Joe. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
All right.
So the December meeting is apparently canceled pending important business.
Yep, and then just my final little reminder is in January will be our next meeting. We will distribute the applications that we've received. And I do want to let you all know, again, thank you, COVID. We're going to experiment with online applications this year. We're going to go through the city's purchasing software and require the applicants to upload their information. We'll see how it goes. It's not a system that's really built for that, but still they should be able to upload their attachments. And the nice thing is it'll be time stamped, so hopefully we won't have any missed deadlines. So those will be due before your next meeting. So at your next meeting, applications will be available. Watch your email. We're not exactly sure if we'll be emailing those applications to you, or if you want to request paper copies, certainly we can print them out and print them for you because there's a lot of pages to them. So, you know, we'll figure out a system before then for what your preference is. And then also just to remind you, we definitely will need a quorum at the January meeting because hopefully we'll be able to do reprogramming then. For those of you who are new, reprogramming is when we look at funds that were unspent and unobligated from the prior fiscal year and reprogram them, make them available in the current fiscal year. Ordinarily, we would be doing that now. However, HUD, because of COVID, has delayed some things. And since we haven't submitted our CAPER, our final numbers aren't final yet, and so we can't reprogram yet. So we will be doing that hopefully in January, but watch your email. But when we do reprogramming, we definitely need a quorum. So that is just my little heads up for that. And that's all I have for you.
Thank you, Heather. The next item of business is adjournment. I entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn. This is Reagan.
Hello, Reagan. So, motion, Reagan. Any second?
I second that motion.
Joseph Ogleton seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Great work, guys.
Thank you. That's the end of our very first virtual CAC meeting in history. Thank you guys on the phone. Thanks for your patience with us. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.